Project 571, genetically engineered vampire created to destroy evil.
What do you want?
We need your help to kill a vampire.
Malleus Maleficario. It was written by a witch. The first witch. Titania.
That was a little snippet from The Witch's Hammer, the first film I ever solo directed, and it's just been remastered and re-released on Amazon. So if you like witches and vampires, then please do check it out. Anyway, let's get on with this week's episode. Hi, Jim here, and you're listening to the Honest Filmmaker podcast. This week, I'm speaking to filmmaker Jason Morris. Hi, Jason. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Jim?
Good. It's a bit rainy here, so apologies if you can hear the rain come through on the microphone. Typical English weather. So everybody can get a sense of who you are. Give me a bit of background on you as a filmmaker.
I'm a 90s kid. I mean, well, 80s and 90s really, but in the 90s, you had the Tarantino and Kevin Smith and all that kind of stuff pop up, and that's when I really got interested in film. I went to film school right out of high school, put myself through college, and I dropped out. I quickly learned that they weren't teaching you the business side of it. It was just hands-on equipment kind of stuff. So I dropped out. I made my first feature film, and I've just been going ever since. It feels so long ago now. A lot's changed.
A lot has changed, and it's funny that trajectory is very similar to mine. I did finish uni, but I did at the end of uni is when I made my first feature film. But I completely understand where you're coming from. A lot, even today, the business side doesn't get taught, so
Yeah.
it is a difficult one. Hence why channels like this exist. Um,
Yeah.
so when you did your first feature film, did you fund it yourself? Have you been funding yourself over time?
So I guess saying I dropped out and did my first feature film is a little incorrect. What I did do is this is before I'm talking like circa like 2003,
Hmm.
before Red and Blue, or I don't know if you know that web series or whatever, what is it, the Microsoft video game that they did, Master Chief or whatever, the
Oh,
Halo.
Halo. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some guys did like a web series, right? So this
Hmm.
was like right before that or on the cusp of when they were doing it. What I did basically is I made an internet TV show, and nobody was ever heard of web series. It wasn't coined yet or any of that stuff. Um, so that's what I did. 13 episodes, 13 minutes a piece, and then I turned that into a feature film when I was done. I was trying to repurpose that kind of thing, and that was all self-financed. The second one I did was a friend of mine found us $15,000 to make our second film, which was at the time called Hell House. I had problems with the distributor, had to retitle it, so now it's called um, The House on Devil's Road. I had to think about it for a second. It's been a while. So that one was financed through other people, but mostly everything today is all self-financed.
Yeah. Right. Okay, that's interesting. And it looks like so since then you've just been working on lots of projects, and which brings us up to Space Rodent, which we'll talk about in a moment. So looking at and I'm assuming all of those projects you've made so far are all on the micro budget level.
I mean, no, I mean, well, so I used to get hired a lot to produce or DP,
Hmm.
sometimes write, never direct, which is heartbreaking, but because that's really what I'm an editor and director. That's what I love to do. But I did get hired a lot to DP and produce. So a lot of projects that I did were more closer to like the $100,000 range.
Yeah.
But my own personal projects, I never ever, I would never spend that kind of money unless it was like somebody else's money, I guess, and it would have to be like the right kind of projects. I don't like losing people's money,
Mm.
and every single one of the projects that I was on that was of the higher level didn't make their money back, and it was one of those things where it was obvious it wasn't going to make its money back, and so those kinds of projects are really hard to be a part of, knowing going into that when you have filmmakers that just kind of like um, I guess don't really understand like the process well enough. I guess they're well intentions. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them, but don't understand the process well enough to jump in and make like a movie of that size with any regard to how it's going to make the money back, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean projects of all sizes, man, really.
Yeah. It's interesting that, isn't it? Because it's almost, you would think 100,000, oh, that'll make things easier. Oh, you know what I mean? I'll make a much better film.
Yeah,
But films like that, yeah, definitely really hard to get the money back on. And they're in that low budget area, but there's not really enough money to kind of do it properly.
mm,
So you kind of end up with the worst of both worlds. Um,
yeah.
so
I think it's
looking,
because
go
mostly
on.
they never do any marketing. They don't set money aside for any kind of marketing. Nobody knows about them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's part of the problem. Yeah, definitely. So looking back on all those films you've made so far, where are we, do you think, right now in micro budget? What sort of state are we in?
So, uh, I haven't talked about this a lot. I don't really do a lot of like podcasts or anything like that with people, but one thing that I'll say is I have noticed over the past couple years, maybe even a little longer than a couple years, that something is definitely happening in the micro budget world. There are a group of actors that are even becoming recognized. There's a group of filmmakers. Most of these are sort of like Midwest, United States like area, flyover kind of states. I hate that term, but that's kind of where it's coming from. And they're doing some really great work in the micro budget world, and they're really gaining like a much bigger following. I think they're just kind of spread out, and it's like they know each other, but they're not coming together kind of way.
Mhm.
But I think it's going to happen. I think it's almost like back when we had movements like mumblecore, things like that, where groups of people in different areas were sort of like developing these filmmaking sort of like processes. I think that's kind of happening right now. And I think that's going to grow and I think it'll become something kind of powerful if they can find a way to sort of like join forces, so to speak,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, no, that is
So
interesting you say that. Yeah, because yeah, I've noticed when filmmakers get it right and they know who their audience is and they know how to connect with them, they actually do seem to build quite loyal audiences for things that I would have assumed previously wouldn't get that much attention. I'm like, oh, okay, there's actually an audience for that particular type of film. They found
yeah.
them, and not only have they found them, but they're hungry for more by that
Mhm.
filmmaker, which is brilliant. And I guess that's probably related to streaming and being able to pop it up on all these different platforms and kind of do your own promotion. Um, and talking about that, do you have a standard way you release films? Are you a film hub guy? Are you a distributor guy? What's your sort of technique with that?
Um, so I'm not 100% sure how to answer that question specifically. Like I used to run like a distribution company. This is
Mhm.
before, well, actually, it's kind of like in the middle of DVD and Blu-ray, sort of like on the way out, right? And I released maybe 25 films at the time, and that was all physical media. Like streaming hadn't really taken off. Netflix had just started, like towards the tail end of that. And I learned a lot during that process. I kind of learned what aggregators were and how they operated and things like that. Um, Also, how shady distributors can be, different ways that they can figure out how to get over on people, which is unfortunate. Not all of them, I think that there's a bit of all distributors are bad right now, but I don't believe that. I think a lot of it is a lack of education on the filmmaker side and knowing what to ask for because I feel like they get a contract and they're like, oh, that's just the way it is. But you can ask for things. You can ask for changes. You can ask for a different percentage rate. You can ask for, no marketing caps or lower marketing. You can ask for things. It's a contract. And a lot of filmmakers don't understand that. And so that immediately they're shady people. Um, for me right now, I was leaning towards Film Hub. I did throw a bunch of films on Film Hub and I stopped. And I stopped because their practices kind of like changed and shifted. And I understand it's a business. I understand that it's a, you know, it's a financial sort of like thing for them to constantly try to reevaluate how they do business and make money wherever they can. My issue with companies like that is where they come out the gate with a certain mission statement and then they flip the script on people, and that's bothersome to me. Like there's a certain morality to that I don't like. So I went back to traditional distributors. Um, and I've always sort of like had a foot in the door with traditional distributors, but never put your eggs in one basket kind of thing. Even with Film Hub, like I wouldn't necessarily do that. It
Mm.
really depends on the project that you're doing. So right now, um, I'm not putting anything on Film Hub just because of the state of things. I'm kind of waiting it out to see how that goes. And I am using a traditional distributor to get most of the projects out. And it's worked out pretty well.
Right,
Yeah.
that's interesting. And just circling back to what you said about contracts,
Mhm.
I think the red flag to look out for is if you ask for an amendment to a contract and you get a flat no,
Mhm.
or you know what I mean, if there's no malleability on any terms, then you know maybe you're dealing with someone who's a little bit shady if they're not even prepared to talk about that stuff. And there are distributors out there who will take in absolutely anything.
Mhm.
But know that if you sign with one of those, you're just going to get thrown into a pot and probably
Mhm.
forgotten about as
Yes.
far as money goes, for sure.
Yeah.
So working with a traditional distributor, so are you working with one distributor or are you or are you selling territory by territory?
I don't have time for that. Like, so there's some people that do, and I never, well, I have once. I don't really use a sales agent. I've done it once, and it was
Mm,
kind of a disaster, in my opinion. I know that there are some filmmakers that do that and are very successful with it. I haven't been one of them, so I can't really speak to that. And I don't have any intentions of trying to go out there to sell internationally or anything like that. When I was doing a distribution company, that was a different story because that was like what my business was at the time. You know, you put that energy into it. But as a filmmaker, my job and my want and my goals are to make films, not to do that other process. It's a full-time job to try to market and sell and all that kind of stuff. Not only business to business by doing international or whatever it is, different territories, but also trying to market to the end user, the person that ultimately is going to watch it, because distributors aren't really doing that. So, yeah, I mean, I do use multiple distributors. Right now, most of the films I have distribution are through one particular distributor, but that does change. It kind of just depends on what I'm making or what's, sometimes like it runs its course with a distributor. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them, but it just runs its course. They put it out there. It's been out there for 3 or 4 years, whatever. It's not making any money back. And then you can breathe new life into it, whether you re-edit it or, whatever it is, or just come out with like a different version or maybe a physical, whatever it is. There's different ways that you can kind of like bring something back to life and then run with another distributor. So there's lots of possibilities out there.
yeah. Yeah, I've done the sell to individual territories.
Mm,
And it is a lot of hard work. And
mhm,
obviously, there's also this sort of trust hurdle you have to get over with a distributor because with a sales agent, they've almost got a little bit of a safety guarantee because they know the sales agent wants to continue to supply them with films. Whereas with an individual filmmaker, they've got to trust that you're going to give them everything. It's all going to be QC'd. It's going to be, formatted correctly. It's going to have good sound, all that malarkey. So doing that, I kind of wish I'd stuck to that because I think maybe if I had stuck to that, I'd start to build some relationships with these distributors and buyers. But it is, like you say, it's a lot of work. And it's
yeah.
just another thing you've got to do on top of everything else that's outside of actually making the film. It's another ball ache thing that you've got to figure out and chat to people about. So yeah, completely agree with
And
that.
and the other thing is that distributors are changing all the time.
Yeah.
Like the distributors, like there's very few distributors that were around 20 years ago that are around nowadays, especially playing in that sort of like budget level. And then there's so many that, I mean, again, I don't try to talk bad about anybody, but there's obviously ones that aren't on the up and up for filmmakers.
Mhm.
So there's plenty of those guys still around. So yeah, it just changes a lot. It's hard to
Yeah.
keep up on.
And it's worth checking if you have sold your film, and God forbid you've sold it outright. Some people do, they just take the cash and run. But it's worth checking. We do it occasionally on an old title. We go, I wonder if that one's gone under, because that will kind of void that contract. And it has happened a couple of
Yeah,
times. People, distributors go under, and you're like, oh, wicked, I get my film back. And I don't need
yeah.
to, don't need to worry about it anymore. So that's good. So tell me about Space Rodent.
So Space Rodent came, so back in 2016, I started a new like entity, a film production entity called Dead End Films. And it was designed around this idea of like if I could get, and the thing is like I was sort of working in a vacuum. Like I just assumed for some idiotic reason I'm the only person doing this. Not true. um, but I started out this idea of building like a little mini film studio, like getting together like four people. We all put in X amount of dollars every month. We build up our budget. In the meantime, we write scripts and develop projects. And then when we get enough budget, we go out and we make them, and we just keep doing it, rinse and repeat, until we have like a big giant catalog. Problem with that is people are difficult. Some people don't understand how much hard work goes into it, or the time, or maybe it's a financing issue, whatever it might be. It never really really took off and worked out. So the original version of that sort of like died. We resurrected that about gosh, it's been about 4, 5 years now. I think like 21, 22, like right after COVID. Everybody's getting bored during COVID time. And I thought, well, maybe this is a good time to kind of re-resurrect that idea. So I brought Dead End Films back, got in a new group of people, and it started to work. And we built up a little bit of budget. I actually, Space Rodent, I fronted the budget for that one so we could get going faster. Um, and the idea is that we were going to make 4 films a year, and it was on a 4 month sort of like overlapping schedule.
Hmm.
Write, produce, post, distribute, and while we're posting, we're in the process of pre-production of the next film and so on. But again, even though it was kind of working out in the beginning, it sort of like fizzled out towards the end. We got 2 films out of it, which is great. So Space Rodent is out now. Next one coming out is The Yellow Balloon, equally as weird and strange. And that was sort of our MO and process for it. But so the Space Rodent is a very small budget film. It's got a $3,000 budget, very tiny. Um, and it was specifically designed to be what it is. It's a throwback to the 80s and the 90s. It's not meant to be pretty looking, but it's meant to be comical and hilarious. So if you can get into those sort of like dude, where's my car kind of movies, that's kind of like what it is. It's like a sit with your friends and smoke a bowl kind of like film,
Hmm.
with a lot of my own sort of like um, personal sort of like love for films that I've sprinkled in throughout of it, but absolutely no reason at all other than I loved it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that, I
Yeah.
just found opportunities to throw stuff in that I love, that speak to me, that nobody's going to notice, or maybe they will, and who knows? Because it's low risk. You know what I mean? These films like this are really low risk. It's hard to not make back 3K on a movie like that.
Hmm.
We're not talking $100,000 movie where there's investors and a lot of other stuff going on. And that's what it was designed for. It's designed to be able to get it out there to the world. Hopefully, people will enjoy it, make its budget back and enough to make the next one, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Well, it's got you've won me over because it's got like a rubber monster in it. That's enough for me. As soon as I see as soon as I see a monster, sold. Um so spent 3K on it. And are
Mhm.
you is have you seen any money back, or is it just only just kind of April, isn't it? It's just been released, so I guess you've not.
Yeah, so the distributor that we're working with is SRS Cinema, right? They do a
Hmm.
lot of SOV type films and a lot of like micro budget kind of films that they put out. So the thing with SRS is they put out a ton of content. Like every month they're releasing like 5 titles, and I
Hmm.
don't know how Ron does it. It's like that's so much content to try to keep track of. Um, but their process is they release a physical media first, and it comes out like 3 to 6 months before the streaming does, which
Right.
I actually really like because I find value in physical media.
Mm.
And I think that's how you cultivate fans, especially for these micro budget movies, is something tangible that they can collect, kind of thing. So there was some return on the film through physical media first, and that came out last year in September, I believe it was, and then it just hit streaming in April. I think April 7th it was,
Hmm.
or May 7th. I can't remember what it was, but fairly recently.
Yeah.
And so we've already kind of started to see the return. The 3 grand hasn't been returned yet, but I have zero doubt that it's going to happen probably the first quarter here, which I haven't received yet. But that's the good thing about Ron is and I don't want to tell people to go to a distributor per se, because I don't want to get burned on that, because
Hmm.
it's all about what you negotiate. But SRS has been very good to us, and pays on time. We get reporting, very communicative, that kind of thing. But everybody's mileage will vary. But yeah, I have zero doubt that it's gonna make a good amount of money. Yeah.
Yeah. Dangerous words. Now everyone's Googling and
You're
sending
right.
Ron an
Yeah.
email. Is he
Right.
trustworthy? Quick, send him my film. Um,
I
um,
mean, he's been around since 91 or 92 or something.
yeah.
He's been around for a long time. You don't
Mm,
stay in the business. And I couldn't find any bad word of mouth from him
yeah.
I remember him. His company was the first company to supply Netflix with streaming media.
Yeah.
So the first 100 films came from his company for Netflix. So there's some trustworthy, throughout history from him,
Yeah.
throughout
Yeah. Yeah.
history. We're
No,
gonna put
and I'd
that.
love, I do love a physical release. In fact, I went to HMV. That I don't know if you got HMV in America. It's like a
I know of it. I think there used to be some, like all that stuff is very sparse nowadays.
Yeah, it was sparse. It sort of had a resurgence here. Love going in there, love buying DVDs, but I bought a DVD that I was looking for, the Sam Raimi one, Send Help.
Mm.
It's just come out
Send
on
Help,
DVD.
great movie.
Bought it, got home, and it's on Disney Plus. I was just like, what am I? Am I a mug or something? I hadn't opened it, so I took it back. But I was just like, give it a minute. Do you know what I mean? Give it a couple of
Yeah,
weeks. You don't need to chuck
yeah,
it straight up on streaming. We need then I'd have bought it and felt really good. I'd be like, yeah, I bought it. I've helped this film. I'm watching it now. I'm taking it back and I'm a little bit annoyed. So
yeah.
yeah, love a
I
physical.
agree with you. I just saw Send Help on streaming, and I was like thinking to myself, like, this is crazy. This is too soon. Like, I just saw it in theater. I'm a massive Sam Raimi fan. I
Mm,
loved the movie. I thought it was great, and I'm like, there's no anticipation anymore though. Like, I was literally like, oh man, I'm getting that on Blu-ray. I hope they come out with like a collector, like whatever, right?
yeah,
I'm gonna get it.
yeah,
And I'm like, oh, I can watch it now. I don't want to watch it now. I just saw it.
yeah. I want
You
to own
know?
it. I want to own it. I want it in a
Yeah.
box. Yeah,
Yeah.
very disappointing. Um, the one thing I'll ask you a question. I hope you're not offended by this because I don't know either way.
I
The
don't get offended, don't
artwork,
worry. Yeah.
the artwork, is it AI or have you got someone to draw it?
No, it's not. It's an artist named Max Cave.
Yep.
It's legitimate like artwork. I got to see it in stages and got to
Yeah.
approve it,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
really cool. That's another awesome thing about SRS is that all of their artwork is not AI.
Right.
A lot of that stuff gets accused like you can't like what are you going to do these days? AI's gotten
Mm-hmm.
so good like it's almost impossible. Now I do use AI.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't have a problem with it. Like it's not putting me out of work. I know a lot of people are scared of that kind of stuff or like the environment and all that kind of stuff. I sympathize with that. But as an indie filmmaker, what have we always done? We've always found a way. It's like the
Mm.
Jurassic Park thing, life finds a way. As filmmakers, you have to utilize whatever's available. I didn't make AI, like it's not, but I mean, if it's available and it gets the ends to, that you need, I'm okay with it. Like I don't have a problem. But you're starting to see it be like massively overused in a lot of like to a point where it's like there's certain styles that is AI, right? And
Mm.
it's like there's no thought going into like somebody even producing that piece.
Mm.
As where if I do use it, it's like it's for a very specific like thing. And I'm also photoshopping and it's coming from actual images that I've shot or
Yeah.
things like that. Like it's used in such a specific way. And it's based on my own stuff that I've made or shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, the artwork from SRS is all original art. I believe I could be wrong on this, but I believe he exclusively uses Max Cave,
Hmm.
who's a great artist. He also did the artwork for our documentary After the Millennium, which came out at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great artist.
Yeah. No, it looks really good. And I was hoping you were going to say it wasn't AI because I was like, oh, I could almost see someone typing in, do me a kind of
Mhm.
80s thing of I've
Yeah.
forgotten the guy's name. Is it Kazan, the guy who does all the Temple of Doom and all that kind of stuff? Do ones
Oh
in the
yeah, yeah,
style
yeah,
of him, and that's what it would
yeah.
spit out. But actually, it's really cool. I think the thing that we're missing with the AI, and I agree with
Mhm.
you, I would use it as a tool in conjunction with my own work. I wouldn't.
Mhm.
You're not a filmmaker if you're just typing stuff in and it's spitting shots
No,
out.
it's pointless. What do you
Yeah.
want to do that for?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not your stuff. But if you're utilizing it to enhance something you've created, um, but what I think we're missing is a sticker or something on a cover of a Blu-ray. If yours was AI, it should have that somewhere so people at least know.
That
That's what we're
lets people
missing.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I could
yeah.
look at that and I'd know, well, it hasn't got a sticker on, so someone's drawn that. That's beautiful. That's the thing of
Yeah.
beauty. That's what we're missing is kind of identifying where it's sole AI, because I think that
Yeah.
would change people's opinions slightly.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm not sure if it would change it for good or bad, honestly,
Yeah.
because I think people's opinions are, I mean, what can you do?
Mm,
Um, but I do think that like it would be great to be able to like even like almost the reverse of that if it's an actual piece of art that
mm,
somebody created, if
mm.
there's a sticker for that instead.
Hand drawn, yeah. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That would make you feel better,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? It'd
Like
be
their
like,
signature. That's
yeah,
back in the day, like your signature as an artist was like an
mm,
important part of your piece of art, and that
yeah,
needs to come back.
mm,
And I would love that even for a movie. I don't mind if the artist's signature is right there on it.
yeah, definitely, definitely. No, it's cool. It's a cool piece of artwork. Um, so what was I going to ask you next? I was going to ask you, yeah, I guess I was going to finish up uh this episode by saying you've made all these films. So looking back on all of this filmmaking and stuff, what do you wish you'd known when you started out on your first thing?
Oh, there is so much I wish that I knew.
Yeah.
I went into this like not in a sort of like logical way. Like it's I think most artists are that way. You just sort of like find a passion. And I still have that. Like I couldn't envision myself doing anything else in the world.
Hmm.
Like so many times I've had that like I gotta quit this. I'm not gonna. It just crosses an artist's mind all the time, right? Because you got to try to break through the noise, and it's like it's so disheartening to try to do that. But I couldn't see myself doing anything else than this. Um, it, it- there's so many lessons, whether it's like, marketing or distribution, that even though this is art, that if you want it to be sustainable, you have to be able to make a return on your investment because your time and your energy is an investment. And I think a lot of filmmakers can't quite break through that, but there's ways to do it. Um, and I think one of the most important things is that the equipment doesn't matter. A lot of people get tied
Mm.
up in this like, oh, you got to get this camera, you got to get these lights, you got to get that. Man, I'm like, I was making films in like, you know, nothing. Home Depot. I don't know if you have Home Depot out there, but Screwfix. I think you guys have
Hmm.
Screwfix, right?
Rubik's, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My partner's in the UK, so it's like, but I mean, just lights from there, just cheap, whatever. Like you can make films off of that, and we're seeing that more prominently, like when 28 Days Later came out, or was it Unsane, or Tangerine, things like that. There's
Mm.
lots of films where people are doing that kind of thing. It's no longer like Kevin Smith spending $25,000 or whatever it is on his credit cards to actually shoot on film. That's now more of like a novelty because you want to do that kind of thing. You don't have to do that in order to get a film made. Back then you did. Like there was really no choice. Unless you're going to do a shot on VHS tape or something. Um, but I wish that I was kinder to myself and took the pressure off, and like you don't need to be Orson Welles at I don't know, what was it, 22, 23, whatever it was. You don't have to be that. Just enjoy your process. And I don't think a lot of people are really kind of doing that. They're too worried about and I think social media is really like aiding in this negativity sort of like thing where there's so much pressure on a filmmaker to uh to either pretend that they're bigger than they are or that
Mm.
their films are doing better than they are. Like take that pressure off. That would be the normal. Just take the pressure off. Who cares if Space Rodent doesn't do well? It was made for $3,000. It's gonna make its money back. I'm not worried about it, kind of thing. The Yellow Balloon, the next one's coming out. Like I put so much work into this movie. It's still the same kind of movie. Like I didn't have to do the effort on that I did, but I wanted it to like it was a type of movie I wanted it to look better. Um, but I made it for $1,000 cheaper. That one's made for 2 grand, right? I mean, it looks head over heels better than the Space Rodent. But we'll see how it goes. But I'm not worried about like, you know, status, I guess, if that makes sense. I'm a filmmaker. I just want to make movies. I don't care. It doesn't matter if it's 100,000, if it's 2,000, if it's zero, dude. I do a lot of free work. I'm not that type of person where it's like, oh yeah, you need to get paid, Hollywood rates because I think so highly of myself or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I see that all the time. It's like, wait a minute, what have you done and you want how much for XYZ? Like, wow, nothing against them. If you can command that, great. But like, I'm just not that kind. I love the work. I love working on movies. And yeah, I guess early on, like there was definitely time period of my life where it was worry about being the next Orson Welles, worry about being the next Sam Raimi or James Cameron, whoever the hell, right? Um, and I wish I could get that 10-year period back, because I would have made a lot more movies
Hmm.
and I would have been a lot happier, because right now that's all I care about. It's like I just want to make things and hopefully people enjoy them.